What's up, everybody? Hello there. Welcome back to another wonderful day of Star Wars celebration. We made it through day 2, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! This was a great day. Really great day. Um, I don't know about you all, but I thought the live stream just absolutely knocked it out of the park today. Not only did they have amazing panelists, but I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily amazing panelists, but the people that they interviewed is more accurate, I should say. They got like Kathy Kennedy up there, Rosario Dawson, uh, John Favreau, Dave Filoni, Carl Weathers came back for another round, Ray Stevenson, Lars Mikkelsen. But we also got 3 panels. Yeah, that's right. 3 panels today during the live stream, which I thought was absolutely incredible. I was like, once 1 o'clock hit, and I knew that, or 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, I knew that we may not get the High Republic panel. And I was so hoping we get to see that because I saw people live tweeting from the stuff there, and I was going to do my best later in the afternoon to really compile all the news announcements from that together. But I had a feeling we'd get the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi, and I thought maybe that's the only one we'll get today. And then later in the afternoon, we got the Creature Cantina, which I thought was cool. That was a lot of fun, just seeing them up on stage there talking about how the creature department works and getting to highlight some of those people behind the scenes that put that stuff together. But we also got to see the pre-recording that they did at 1 o'clock of the High Republic panel to close out the day, which I thought was so fun. And it was just, yeah, I had a blast just sitting there taking it all in. I know RFB that you were on Twitter all day as well, keeping up with all the stuff that was happening. So it was just a blast seeing everybody just geeking out, having fun. This is what Star Wars Celebration is about. It's about having fun, geeking out about the cool things that we've got going on in the Star Wars galaxy. It's a place to celebrate all this great stuff. So I'm thrilled to just get into all this with all of you here. And we'll start. I created a little PowerPoint similar to yesterday. Let's get that up and read in here. And of course, this is our day 2 of our live streams here at Force Goes Conversations live on our YouTube site. This is the second official stream that we've ever done in our history. So I'm hoping that we'll continue doing this regularly as we go through the next couple of weeks, months, years that we do this podcast. I hope to do this forever. So let's keep the fun train going here. But yeah, thanks to everybody for sharing the good word of the podcast, the good word that we're doing here at Force Goes Conversations. It really helps to grow the show and to continue providing the high quality entertainment that I love to do for each and every one of you here. So with that, I want to run through again before we get into the nitty gritty of what transpired here at Star Wars Celebration today about our overall Star Wars Celebration at Home festivities, aka CouchCon, as I've been dubbing it appropriately. So of course we are on Saturday, April 8th at the moment. We're right now currently at the 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. So we are currently in the midst of our recap stream on YouTube right now. Then at 8 o'clock p.m., if you would like to, we're going to be doing a watch along of Return of the Jedi and anniversary of its 40 years of existence, which we'll talk about a little bit about that panel today later on in this session. But at 8 o'clock, we'll be watching along on Twitter. So if you have it on whatever device that you got, whether it be a VHS, Betamax, DVD, Blu-ray, Disney Plus, if you just stream it, pull it up right at 8 o'clock, hit play, and then use the hashtag ROTJWatchAlong to continue the conversation. I'll be doing the same. I'll be having it on my 4K disc live up on my TV screen, and we can engage in some fun conversations as we go through that that wonderful movie. And I hope to see some of you on the Twitterverse tweeting out that hashtag, and let's talk about that wonderful movie. And of course, we'll recap the stream on YouTube here again tomorrow after the third day of Star Wars Celebration on Sunday, same time, 6:00 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to continue to have conversations, let's regroup at the same time tomorrow. And of course, we'll be live tweeting the celebration stream both tomorrow and on Monday to close out what we've been calling here CouchCon. So I hope that you're able to join us on Twitter. Of course, we're at Force Ghost Pod, and look forward to connecting with you all there. So with that, let's move into what's going on at Star Wars Celebration. And we got a lot of fun things going on in the universe of Star Wars here today. So I am just so thrilled right now to get into all this with you, because there's a lot of fun things that happened at Star Wars Celebration Day. And first and foremost, it was that Ahsoka panel. That was incredible. Were you following along, RFB? Like, that was a spectacular panel, if you ask me. Like, it all started with, of course, the host, Chris Hewitt, bringing out John and Dave. Of course, who else are you going to bring out to talk about the show other than the creator of one of the creators of Ahsoka, the one that gave her a lot of the life and character that we come to know and love, as well as Jon Favreau, who helped to kind of give Dave the tools and the confidence and the experience in order to continue with his live action work that we're going to continue seeing eventually culminate in that not Return of the Jedi, but that post Return of the Jedi Empire Remnants film that I think is going to be absolutely super stellar and astounding. So I think that's going to be one of the big panels of this weekend here. And I'm just going to say, we're going to get right to the juice of it all here. Lars Mikkelsen is Grand Admiral Thrawn. I know there were people that were doing some really great investigative journalism yesterday that they were, that we got the back of the head in the Ahsoka trailer that premiered of Thrawn. And there were people that were looking at the ears, and they were fixating on Lars Lars Mikkelsen's face, and they were like trying to crop it together to see if it fit, if the ears were the right size. I thought it was absolutely brilliant what those folks were doing there. I thought it was so cool. And we got official confirmation. He walked right on that stage there, and it's official. Lars Mikkelsen is Thrawn. And how cool is that? We got both Mikkelsen brothers officially in live action Star Wars now, because of course Lars voiced Thrawn in Rebels, and his brother Mads Mikkelsen was also Galen Erso in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. And also both Mikkelsen brothers are going to be in Lucasfilm Stories this year. So just remember, Mads Mikkelsen is playing Jurgen Voller in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And of course, Lars Mikkelsen now in August will be in Ahsoka. RFB, I see you ask, is John an executive producer for Ahsoka? I think he is. I think he absolutely is as well. I would 100% believe that as well. I think that is fact. So good question there. And of course, these folks at the celebration panel here got an extended cut of what we saw, or an alternate cut, perhaps. It's at least going to be extended because, you got more stuff than what we saw yesterday, regardless. So they got that. Of course, Lars Mikkelsen was Thrawn in that trailer. They brought him out. But there was also Purrgil in the trailer. Sabine wielding a green lightsaber, which is, I believe, Ezra's. Some sort of speeder chase on Lothal. Sign me up for all that. That's what I want to hear. I know. I saw you searching for that picture that I saw making the rounds later in the day, and yeah, Making Star Wars conjured one up somehow. I mean, It's amazing that only that one picture was able to be snagged. I've had a feeling that maybe there'd be a couple more, but hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. I liked the look. It looked exactly how I picture Thrawn to be. Uh, so I'm so thrilled. Hey, Leo, how's it going? Welcome to the party. Hope you're having a good celebration thus far. We're just gonna recapping what's going on at this point in Star Wars Celebration, of course, on day 2, and recapping everything that has taken place over the course of the live stream and the panels that I was able to keep track of during the day. Right now, we're talking about the Ahsoka panel, of course, the big news of the day, if you ask me, which is Lars Mikkelsen being confirmed to be Grand Admiral Thrawn, which I think is so cool. And just to go through some of the other highlights of that panel, of course, John and Dave talked about how they are doing in regards to kind of coaching Dave in this live action world that he's going to only further get involved with, as he is now going to be directing that pivotal movie that's coming out in a few years here. John Favreau said, I knew part of Dave's plan as he started dipping his toe in live action was bringing his characters to live action. So, of course, we're talking the characters from Clone Wars, from Rebels, and we're kind of seeing that really culminate here in this series, Ahsoka. I mean, this is pretty much the Rebel sequel that we've been looking for. Half of these characters are characters that Dave created himself, whether it be Bo-Katan, or not Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan's not in the series yet that we know of, but we're talking Sabine Wren, Hera, Ahsoka. Clearly Ahsoka. I mean, this is excellent. Chopper. Ezra. Ezra's eventually going to show up in this series, and that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. And kudos to Dave for. I've been saying this like all weekend thus far. This guy's really paid his dues. I can't imagine a more qualified person at this point to take the reins of a Lucasfilm movie. He's been so pivotal in getting the volume technology up and running. He's so involved with the story overall and what that means. And he knows how to craft a story first and foremost. I mean, he's made some of the most pivotal Star Wars stories since 2008 with the Clone Wars animated series, which of course celebrated its 15th anniversary today at a panel, which we'll talk about a little bit later. I'm just so thrilled for Dave, and of course saw him on the live stream at the Celebration Stage live show. Man was so emotional about it, and he was so grateful for all the great stuff that people were, all the kudos and accolades that he was getting. But he was also willing to dish it back and say, like, I wouldn't be anywhere if it weren't for the folks that put me in these positions to be successful. Which, always love to see a good sense of humility in regards to how you got to a place. But he's worked hard to get to where he's at right now, and I appreciate it. Of course, Rosario Dawson and Chopper came out on stage. The titular character of Ahsoka being Rosario Dawson, who I affectionately call Road Dog in our household here. I believe Kevin Smith called her Road Dog once because she was in Clerks 2 and Clerks 3, I believe. And I heard that on a stream once. He's probably on a more personal level with with Rosario Dawson to call her that. But once I heard that, I was like, that's sticking with me. I'm going to call her Road Dog forever. So, she was out on stage and she gave credit to Ahsoka, not Ahsoka, but Ashley Eckstein for really creating the foundations for the character, the strength, and reiterated that she is not a Jedi, as we all know. Remember in the season 2 finale of Star Wars Rebels, where she said, "I am not a Jedi." But she's driven to do good, which I think is where we see her at this point in time. She is, willing to help out others, but of course she's also thinking about the big picture at what's currently going on right now. So we're talking like the threat of Thrawn out there in the galaxy that no one seems to really be caring about, what she's raising that flag for. They also talked in the panel about how they're also looking for Ezra at the same time, which I think is going to be great. They're going to tie in all those loose threads that we got from Star Wars Rebels in that season 4 finale a few years back ago, which I'm very excited about overall. Also, I thought it was really interesting that Rosario shared that she learned to be ambidextrous for this role in regards to playing the physicality of Ahsoka. They also noted that her makeup is now down to 1.5 to 2 hours, which I thought was very interesting. They also noted that her tendrils for her Leku are different than what they made for the Mandalorian, because they heard the fan backlash, or not necessarily backlash per se, but I guess you would probably describe it as criticism is perhaps the best way. Some fan comments and concerns about how the Leku were. So they thought they were too short for what they expected the character to be looking like from the Star Wars Rebels look. So they created, frankly, this new but they created this new technology, I guess, in a way you could say, or like synthetic skin. They they talked about it a little bit. Of course, it wasn't in the room, but I was getting some of this secondhand. But I thought that was really interesting how they'd taken the fan feedback and utilized that to make it a more interesting and more appropriate character visually for us at home here, which I thought was a great way to showcase that they listen to fans, that they're willing to take criticism and feedback. I mean, they basically did that, as they noted, for what they did at the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian with the Luke Skywalker return, of course, and how they took the deep fake technology, or however they use it. My mind gets flipped on its head every time I try to think about how they did all that work. And then we see how they progressed a year later in the Book of Boba Fett, how it was frankly, that was gorgeous what they did in the Book of Boba Fett. Luke Skywalker looked like Mark Hamill circa 1982 in that work there. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. We got some new people joining the chat here. See Simon. Hey, Simon, how you doing? Welcome to the club here. Also got Brown Leader, and I do agree she does look better in the series. Very excited to see how it plays out overall, of course, across the full season. And especially how it looks with action sequences as well. I'm very intrigued to see how that plays out. So, of course, we had some other folks join the panel as well. Natasha Liu Bordizzo and Mary Elizabeth Winstead joined the crew. They both prepared by watching Star Wars Rebels and getting acquainted with their characters to that. And I would be very concerned if they said they didn't watch all that stuff. I did see a fun tweet today while I was traversing the Twitterverse. And they noted how if Mary Elizabeth Winstead was watching Star Wars Rebels, of course she's married to Ewan McGregor. If he's sitting on the couch beside her, do you think they got to the Twin Sons episode and he was just like, "That's Obi-Wan Kenobi"? I just imagine that playing out and just him doing that voice that he's so affectionate for. I think that would be absolutely. I hope that had happened. In my head, it certainly did. It's headcanon. It's real life. It happened. I'm manifesting it to happen. Let's just call it a day on that one. I love that we got this long hair look for Sabine. I think that's really awesome. And also for story-wise, it signals that some time has passed since the Rebels finale. So, we're 5 years past that time? I mean, we'll know exactly, but that's probably in my mindset where we're at. So I know there's some portions of the show where she has short hair, and then there's some where she has long hair. So I gotta imagine that some time has certainly passed. So that's what I'm going with that one. We also got confirmation about Hera, and we learned more about that. She's Mary Elizabeth Winstead says she's an incredible leader. She's leading an army, and she's both a maternal figure too in the Ahsoka series, which again gets very much the core of what the character is, which I think she probably discovered through watching Star Wars Rebels. How can you not, frankly? David Tennant is also confirmed to be back as the droid Huyang, who we all remember from the Clone Wars, the character droid that helps the children gather lightsabers and put them together through the climactic gathering arc in season 5 of the Clone Wars, which I found to be really cool. He also recorded all of his lines before filming, so the actors were able to perform off Tennant's voice, which is really cool. Oh, interesting, RFB. Ahsoka story will start where Mando season 2 is, so good to know. Good to know on that one. Oh, well, the first 4 episodes, interesting. Well, we'll have to see how it plays out through the course of all 8 episodes, which again, this was confirmed for 8 episodes here. So that'll be fun to keep track about how they're doing over the course of the full arc of the season here. And speaking of that, let's get to some villains here. So they brought out, of course, Diana Lee Inosanto, who plays Morgan Elsbeth, which we saw in The Mandalorian Season 2. Again, that climactic episode 5, I believe, The Jedi, which ends with that amazing fight with the Beskar spear, where she says, "Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?" I mean, when that happened, I basically leapt off my chair. The fact that we heard the name Thrawn in live action, especially seeing Ahsoka in the same episode too. I mean, geez, we're talking things that I never thought I'd see before in my lifetime, and then they made that climactic leap to make all these things happen. Man, I agree. It is so cool to see all this come back. I mean, hey, you're right, Leo. Filoni is the man indeed. Anything he touches turns to gold. So looking forward to seeing all these Rebels characters come to life. I agree. That Hera look is incredible. I mean, that aside from Ahsoka, which definitely had to look great, there was no wiggle room with Hera. So they definitely took their time in making that character look phenomenal, making sure the makeup was right, making sure the Leku work. And I'm very excited to see how that all plays out over the course of the 8-episode season that we're getting. So again, they brought out Morgan Elsbeth. They said it was a 17-hour filming session that I mentioned earlier when they did the original Ahsoka Morgan Elsbeth fight. And Morgan is loyal to Thrawn, and we will see her in the background, which I think will be very pivotal, because that we didn't get a lot of closure when it came to that last episode of not that last episode, but the Jedi episode of The Mandalorian Season 2. So I don't know. We'll probably get some more answers on that one. They also brought out Ray Stevenson, of course, and Ivana Sacco, who plays Balin Scott and Shin Hati, who are both villains. We'll have to learn more about them as the course of the season goes on. You know, these are the characters that had like reddish, orangish lightsabers. I don't know if anyone picked up on that one, but it didn't look necessarily entirely red in those trailers. It looked a little bit shades of orange to me. So I don't know if they're Sith or not Sith. I mean, I know RFB, you got some intel on this stuff, but we'll have to see how exactly it plays out when it comes to all of that and the course of the of what actually is the final product of the show. They also noted how their trainer Ming lives in a temple in China. So, of course, the one that teaches them how to do all the lightsaber techniques and the physicality of it, all the martial arts. She lives in a temple in China, and at the age of 9, and trains 364 days a year, except for one day with her family a year. And she's also the actor in the beginning of Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is protecting the children at the beginning. So, yeah, we'll have to... I like that. That was probably one of the most wild stories I've learned over the course of the Star Wars celebration thus far. I mean, could you imagine that? 364 days. That's a lot. That's a lot of time and training right there. I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't. Could you do that? Could you guys do that? I don't. I need a day off just from, eventually from celebration, right? Because like this is a lot of work putting all this stuff here together, and I can imagine. Even if it's your passion and all that stuff, take some time for yourself. But geez, she's committed. I admit that's a lot of commitment there. So good for her on that one. Yeah, RFB. I think that's pretty safe. Dark side users. They're definitely villains. Who knows exactly what they are at this point. But definitely with that red, orangish lightsaber, I think that's definitely safe to say that they are following the dark side. Brown Leader, what you got to say here? Mary Elizabeth Winstead is married to a Jedi and is now playing a character who had a romance with a Jedi. Interesting. Yes, she is married to Ewan McGregor, our Obi-Wan Kenobi. And, of course, Hera had a romance, a fling, if you will, with Kanan Jarrus. And they have a kid. They got a kid through that scenario, which is Jason. So we'll see if Jason shows up in the show at all. I mean, there's probably a strong chance about that one. So we'll have to see what all happens with that over the course of the next couple of months here. We also got the directors for Ahsoka confirmed. Those are Dave Filoni, of course. I mean, who would expect that, frankly. Steph Green, who did work on the Book of Boba Fett. Peter Ramsey, who just directed an episode of The Mandalorian. Newcomer Jennifer Getzinger. Geeta Patel, both newcomers, and of course, Rick Famuyiwa, who will be doing the final 2 episodes of Season 3 of The Mandalorian. executive producer on The Mandalorian now. He's very involved in Lucasfilm family, so very cool to see him doing the stuff here. Something that I found to be absolutely incredible as we were going through this stream was that finding out that Kevin Kiner is doing the score for this show. So I'm a big fan of Kevin Kiner's work. Obviously, guy that did the work for the Clone Wars series. He did work for the Bad Batch currently that's going on, Star Wars Rebels as well. He's earned his time to make that jump to a live action work for Star Wars here. So glad that he'll be able to continue his work, especially with Ahsoka's themes and playing on that, but also to continue those Rebels themes too that he had. I hope to hear the Rebels theme in the series in some capacity. So very excited for the possibilities of that. And apparently he also talked to Ludwig Göransson when using the Ahsoka's theme in The Mandalorian. So they were very collaborative at that time. So he kind of got a sense of how this all works by connecting with Ludwig on that one. So that was really all that I had for the Ahsoka panel. It seems like they're very inspired by the Timothy Zahn books about Thrawn, whether it be Legends or current canon. And that's really where the foundation starts. Finally, the last thing that I'll say about the Ahsoka panel is that what makes Thrawn so compelling? They asked this question here, and they obviously said, well, it starts with Timothy Zahn's books, but he's like the Moriarty in Star Wars, according to Dave Filoni, which that's a perfect description of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Very much a very analytical person, a character that cannot be defeated unless there's something like a Purgle, something that he would never in a million years think is a possibility. And it's that one thing that defeats them, the thing that they're never expecting. I just sign me up for all that stuff. I love Star Wars, and we're going to see Thrawn really unhinged at this point because he's probably going to win a little bit here. We're going to see season 3 Rebels Thrawn fighting back, winning some battles here and there, because it's going to eventually culminate to this grand finale movie for the Mandoverse, which is an event, as Kathleen Kennedy was talking about on the live stream page. So, or the live stream stage, I should say. Yes. They're looking to develop stories that eventize movies, basically, at this point in their structure. So they're looking for big events to drive people to the movie theater in their strategy. And I think this is absolutely how they're going to get to that point here. So looking forward to absolutely everything that they got coming up for that one. So I want to continue here with our discussion. They finally showed the High Republic panel in the stream later in the live stream for those of us at home. It was literally the last thing of the day, which I didn't think we'd get. I was telling RFB earlier in this in our live stream recap here that took place at 1:00 p.m. Eastern time. Not 1:00 p.m. Eastern, but 1:00 over in London, whatever time of the day it is over here. And if they didn't show it then, I didn't think they were going to show it at all, because it didn't look like people were coming to the live show stage. I was kind of paying attention to the schedule that they have on the Celebration website. And it looked like there was a break between 1 and 3 o'clock London time. So I thought maybe they'd show it live a bit, but obviously they waited, they recorded it and showcased it later, which it's fine, makes sense. But we eventually got it. And I don't know about you all, but I love the High Republic storytelling. Big fan of the book. I know I'm behind. I haven't read Cataclysm, the new one that came out. I haven't read Convergence. I'm basically where they were at in October in terms of the books for that and the comics. I'm in grad school. It's hard enough to find time to read and do all the other stuff that I try to make fit into my life to begin with. So I'll get to it. I'm definitely gonna have time once I'm done. I graduate technically in May, but I'll be done with classes in July. So once that is officially done, I will be full on into reading. I'll probably read a couple hours a night, to make sure that I catch up, because wow, did they announce a lot for Phase 3 of the High Republic? Of course, there's so much in the High Republic storytelling that they're going to be doing right now. They've got the Young Jedi Adventures series, which of course they're going to be doing some tie-in books. The High Republic era is going to be on full display in that series. Now, of course, will debut on Disney Plus on May 4th. So looking forward to that. Absolutely. I know people at Celebration got to see the first 2 episodes there. And people loved it. They were praising that show, and I felt very jealous of those that were in the room. I wanted to be in there. I certainly would have probably tried my best to get into that panel if I were there in person. So I think that'll be fascinating to see how that all plays out here. But well, stay tuned to the podcast. We'll definitely be covering that in some way capacity as the time arises. But they did announce a new book called Tales of Light and Life there, which is a young adult anthology, which will be coming out in September 2023, which features also newcomer to the High Republic storytelling, Alyssa Wong. And finally, they got to phase 3, the climactic final phase of the High Republic publishing event that they've been doing over the last 2 years at this point now, which will conclude in 2025, which they basically unveiled every title that they're doing to this point, aside from other event stories that they may be doing. I know they're going to be announcing one more book or title that's going to kind of kick off Wave 3, or kick off Wave 1 of Phase 3. Which, of course, you're seeing the poster for this phase on the screen here. The High Republic with that new black logo that they've got there. It's called Trials of the Jedi, which will be starting in fall 2023, I believe in October specifically, if we're looking at an exact date and time here. But yeah, they didn't include any type of like miniseries comics or what's the other one? Audio dramas that they've been doing. They did a couple audio dramas recently with the High Republic, which were phenomenal. If you haven't listened to Tempest Runner by Captain Scott, that was astounding. It was probably one of my favorite Star Wars stories I've ever experienced. So absolutely would recommend checking that out as you're able to then. But basically, they gave a precursor for what Phase 3 Trials of the Jedi will be like. They said that at this point in time, so spoilers if you haven't read this at all. So, feel free to check out or mute us if you don't want to know what happens. But Starlight Beacon is destroyed. The Jedi are called back to Coruscant and Nihil. The villains of this have effectively won. And this is where we're at in Phase 3 here. It takes place a year after the fall of Starlight Beacon, and really the first kind of set of novels. So they basically laid out the entire strategy story here. So I'm going to just read them off here. We got The Eye of Darkness by George Mann coming. It'll be an adult novel. There's going to be Escape from Valo by Daniel Jose Older and Alyssa Wong, which should be a middle grade reader. Defy the Storm by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland should be a young adult story. They're going to have Chronicles from the Occlusion Zone by Lydia Kang, which will be a story in Star Wars Insider. There'll be the High Republic ongoing Marvel Comics series by Captain Scott, of course, who did that, I believe, for Phase 1 and 2. The High Republic Adventure series from Dark Horse Comics, which are kind of skewed to a younger audience, but all very good stories in general. I've been keeping up with all those by Daniel Jose Oder as well. There's going to be Temptation of the Force by Tessa Gratton, which will be an adult novel coming in summer 2024. And finally, the last adult novel, tying all this up in a nice bow, the end game for the High Republic storytelling of this publishing initiative will be Trials of the Jedi by Charles Soule. So very much looking forward to that, because he kicked this all off with Light of the Jedi back in January of 2022. There will also be several other books coming out in the High Republic to round it out here. So Tears of the Nameless by George Mann, which is a young adult story, will be coming. Into the Light by Claudia Gray, which will be the final young adult story of the High Republic initiative. Beware the Nameless by Zoraida Cordova, which will be a middle grade reader. A Valiant Vow by Justina Ireland will be the final middle grade reader. And there will be another book and title, something like that, to be revealed to really kick off Wave 1 of Phase 3, which will start in about October here, which they were coy about announcing at this point, but you got to think there's a specific reason for them doing so at this point. So keep an eye out for the High Republic show. Probably they'll be announcing that in the coming weeks or so. But I thought that was a panel that certainly defied expectations, if you ask me, in terms of what they announced and released. Like, they went full bore on this one. They also, for those in the room, showcased the Acolyte footage again from the Lucasfilm Showcase panel. They brought Leslie Headland out on stage, and she talked about how awesome the books are and how you should be, reading up on those and how they'll influence with the story for the Acolyte, which Leslie Headland was also out on the Star Wars Celebration live stage. And I got to tell you, she's one of us. She's one of us. She is, I can tell, she's a fan of Star Wars. I am fully support of her ideas. I can't wait to see the Acolyte. It actually may be my most anticipated Star Wars project right now. She talked about the High Republic, and she loved the challenge of what has already been designed for the books, because they did a lot of concept art. They've put it all together in such a great format. And they've really set this world up beautifully and richly. And they're bridging it to the Phantom Menace. So in the Acolyte, from what she's described so far, they're at the end of the High Republic era and then moving towards where we see them in the Phantom Menace. And to the question that she's trying to answer through the story is, how do you reconcile the Jedi at the height of their power? And who they become in the Phantom Menace, right? They're telling a story from the perspective of the bad guys in this story. And it was just incredible. She talked about how Star Wars has saved her life. Agreed 100% RFB. Leslie Shirley is one of us. So absolutely right on that one. Yeah, Leo or Bendu. You got that right. Thrawn definitely wasn't thinking about that whatsoever. Bendu, the Purgle, all that stuff. Yeah, Bendu was something that he didn't see coming. So we'll see what really takes Thrawn out in the end of all things here. Maybe it's little Grogu that is the ultimate defeat source that defeats Grogu. Yeah, so to conclude the High Republic discussion here, there is a picture on the screen here you may see, and it is the one that's right beside the Trials of the Jedi and in between the Return of the Jedi poster that is listed here. So I mentioned they showed the Acolyte trailer, and they brought out Rebecca Henderson alongside this photograph here, who is the actress portraying this on screen. And of course, this is none other than Vernestra Rowe, who is a pivotal character in the High Republic books to this point. One of my favorite characters, to be honest. She is an incredible, from what we've been given so far, she's so talented in the Force. She's so brilliant with it. She's the youngest Jedi Master ever in the history of the Star Wars, and the history of the Jedi Order to that point. She also has like a purple whip lightsaber, which if they show that in live action, it's over. I'll freak out. I was losing it just at the mere thought of it being a possibility. They announced it, and it took a second for me to sink in, and I thought, "Holy cow, we might actually see that. We might see that." Now, of course, this is I think 100 years after the events of the where they're currently at with Phase 1 and Phase 3 of the High Republic. But I believe the species is Myrillian, something like that. I don't know the exact pronunciation off the top of my head. But we know species age differently. Also, tell the story is right. I trust all the people here. Rebecca's Leslie's other half. No, I didn't know that. Good to know, RFE. I think it makes sense that she's cast in the series if that's the case. So, and also to give her such a pivotal role such as that, I think that's really astounding. I'm very excited for Vernestra. She's also trained by one of the most pivotal Jedi Masters of that time period, Stellan Gios. So they're really intertwining the work of the publishing side plus live action. So if you haven't caught up on the High Republic stories yet, now is your time to do so. They're shifting the release schedule to make the more time in between when books come out for Phase 3. So it allows people to go back and catch up with those other stories that have been going out, whether it be in the comics, the books, the audio dramas, etc., so that you can catch up to where they're at to get to that final climactic event with Charles Soule's Trials of the Jedi book in spring of 2025. So I'm very excited for that. That was an astounding panel. I might be rewatching that very, very frequently over the coming weeks because I love panels that give you information. But speaking of panels that really didn't give us information, not dogging it in any way, of course. I'm just joking around entirely here. But if we're talking the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary panel, which of course they're not going to really tell anything new here. They're just going to reminisce, talk about good times, share about the filming process, the legacy of this movie, etc. Similar to what they did with the 20th anniversary that they did for Attack of the Clones last year, and now of course they're giving the same treatment to Return of the Jedi 40 years later here. Ming-Na Wen was the host. Now Mark Hamill sent in a video, Harrison Ford sent in a video. They were both nice. They brought out Rob Breedow from ILM, Neil Scanlon from the Creature Shop, of course, who got his also Time in the Sun with the Creature Cantina panel that came out later in the day. Doug Chang was also on site, and Doug Chang needs no introduction on this panel, I don't think. They talked about how Return of the Jedi has impacted storytelling at Lucasfilm over the last couple of years, which absolutely, it's pivotal. It's one of the, frankly, like if you watched Light and Magic, Return of the Jedi is like a spearheading point for what Lucasfilm did in the rest of the 80s and beyond. They're starting to incorporate some of the digital effects that they've been working on. George was starting to do some previs work with that one, at least with the technology at the time. They were starting to use Edit Droid at that time. Computer graphics were starting to make their way into the fold here. So I think this is a really pivotal movie, as well as, closing off this original chapter of the Star Wars trilogy here. They showed that great previs sequence from the early video cassette decks using action figures. Loved seeing that with that Dennis Muren work that they did there. And they compared it to what the previs is like currently with the Keller and Beck escape sequence from The Mandalorian that we saw a couple weeks ago, which, you see the trajectory here, but whew, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right, RFB. I wasn't even thinking about the creature panel. 4 panels today. 4. We were really fed well, and the great guests that came out for the live stage to talk about this work. I've got no complaints. This is probably one of the best days of Star Wars Celebration I've ever seen on a live stream. Unless they would have showed the Ahsoka panel, that really would have blown the roof off of everything. But yeah, that was. I can't say enough. This was a great day for Star Wars. Of course, they brought out some of the actors from the movie: Anthony Daniels, Warwick Davis, Ian McDermott, Billy D. Williams. I love the banter between Warwick Davis and Anthony Daniels. Ian McDermott, of course, if you watch it, can still do the cackle. If you didn't hear it, go watch it after the stream is done. Go check that out. It was an absolute blast seeing these guys back on stage again, talking about their memories with Return of the Jedi, or frankly their lack of memories, because they asked Billy D. Williams what his favorite memories are, and he's like, I don't know. I said, I don't know what was up with that, but hey, guy's 86, so what really much more can you ask from the guy who's given so much to Star Wars over the last 40 plus years, frankly, at this point, because they filmed Return of the Empire in 79. So he's got his time to give us all the good deals. And he's also got his autobiography coming out, so Tune, which he made sure to plug while he was on stage there. Ian McDermott also talked about watching John Williams and Abbey Road score the Return of the Jedi soundtrack, which I thought was a really cool memory. And they lastly talked about how you see the poster that we've got on our PowerPoint here. It's a new poster for the 40th anniversary of Return of Jedi, and is returning to theaters for 1 week in select theaters. So be sure to check out StarWars.com and Fandango, as I imagine they'll tell you where the closest theater is in your neck of the woods that is showcasing this amazing movie. Obviously, I'll be talking about this in a second here, but we'll be doing a watch along of Return of the Jedi for the 40th anniversary in just an hour 15 here. So I look forward to seeing you all on Twitter later tonight to geek out about this incredible movie and to share in this fun conversations about it. So we'll talk more about that in just a few moments here. But I did want to close out here. Leo, you brought it up right. The Clone Wars panel was amazing too. And that's where we're going to kind of finish off our discussions here about what took place at Star Wars Celebration today and recapping it all. It was great seeing all these, they got the band back together on stage. They got, of course, all of the voice actors, some of the creators behind it. Dave Filoni, of course, was out on stage. I thought it was fun. It was absolutely what it needed to be. The big takeaway, of course, after all this, is that they are coming back with a second season of Tales of the Jedi. Of course, more stories in this prequel Clone Wars-esque era. These short form stories that are just poignant. They pack a punch. Those Tales of the Jedi episodes are some of the best Star Wars animation, if you ask me, especially those Dooku episodes. Those Dooku episodes, astounding. Absolutely incredible. If I got to watch quick Star Wars that I put on for like 20, 30 seconds. No, not 20, 30 seconds, but like if I need a 30-minute story, I might be putting on that Dooku. That work is absolutely incredible. And I know I haven't talked about it on Force Ghost Conversations yet, because where am I finding the time? We got so much coming out over the next couple of weeks here. And if you look back in the last like 6-8 months since it's come out or whatever, it's been busy. So we're going to find time eventually. We'll get to it. Don't worry. We're eventually going to talk about it. Mrs. Force Ghost Conversations wants on to discuss all that fun stuff. So it's coming. It's in the pipeline. I've got it on my episodes list in this whiteboard that I've got above my head here. So we're eventually getting it back. But yeah, a second season is coming. I think it's brilliant. Dave was basically like, I just wanted to get this group back together again. I had so much fun with Matt, with Ashley Eckstein, with James R. Taylor. It's a wonderful group. The folks that are putting it together definitely are passionate about Star Wars. They care about it all. And it was just an absolute blast. Yeah, the RFB, the Clone Wars panel was great fun. The last 10 minutes was hilarious. What did you think about the initial like Ahsoka with an Icelandic accent? I thought that got a good rouse out of me. So I think I just trying to picture in my head, like, why would they think is an Ahsoka with an Icelandic accent? Like, it didn't make sense, but it made sense at the same time. I don't know. I got nothing at that point, but that was really it for the day. Of course, I could go through my notes for the live stage panel, but it basically has been covered throughout the course of our conversations here, because they really do a great job tying it in together with the panels that they've been showcasing on display here. So that was all the thoughts that I had. If you have any other ideas, questions, comments about the live stream and the panels that we saw throughout the day, feel free to throw those in the chat right now as we kind of close up shop here for tonight's recap live stream. Of course, we'll be doing this again tomorrow as well, so I hope to see you at the same time, 6:00 p.m. Yeah, Leo, those Dooku episodes really do fill in some gaps there, especially that Yaddle episode. That was chef's kiss. That was like the best pizza you could ever eat in your life. Like, I could go back to that anytime I want. Oh, interesting, RFB, the Icelandic accent. You've heard that a while back in your playlist. Yeah, it's the first time I've ever heard that there was even an idea floated about, but certainly it could have been brought up before. I know Dave, when he talked about his story of how he got chosen for Clone Wars, when he thought it was a prank, and he thought it was the SpongeBob guys who were coming together here, who were making a joke about him. And in fact, it wasn't, and they almost fired him right there, or just turned off the phone and said, "We're moving on." I love that story. I think that's a really good one. So yeah, we'll just close out here a little bit. So obviously, again, this is Force Ghost Conversations. I am Anthony King. Thanks again for everybody for coming in here and for chatting about the second day of Star Wars Celebration. I hope you had some fun just kind of recapping it here, joining us in the chat here. It's been a blast hanging out with you guys the last couple of days here, and I hope to see you all again tomorrow evening while we kind of close out the Friday, Saturday, Sunday of all this. But of course, we are still a working podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We got an episode coming out tomorrow. Somehow today I found time to record an episode for the latest episode of The Mandalorian, season 3, episode 6, Guns for Hire. So be sure to tell your friends about us, leave a rating, subscribe to the podcast on your favorite social site, or podcast site, I should say. And of course, we're available on all platforms. So if we're not, let us know, and we'll be sure to find our way on there one way, shape, or form. We're also available on Patreon, so if you feel so inclined to support the show via other means, you can find us on Patreon. Just search for Force Ghost Conversations, and you can find the tiers that are that you want to support us at. For as little as $1 a month, you can get access to a lot of different Force Ghost Conversations goodies and conversations. So if you like what you heard here and want to continue, folks, supporting the show in other means, feel free to do so. We also do extra episodes over there and shout outs and all that stuff. So if you want to support the show in other means, absolutely go check us out. There will be a link in the episode description here for you to do so. Again, we're also available on pretty much every social media platform you can think of nowadays. So we're obviously here on YouTube. You know how to find us. We got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Be sure to be on our Twitter page if you're not already, because we'll be doing live tweeting throughout all of Star Wars Celebration over the last couple of days. So if you want to if you missed out on stuff, just go through our Twitter feed and hunt down some of the information that we've been able to find, also with my commentary mixed in there as well. And lastly, just want to do a recap of what we've been doing here at CouchCon, appropriately Star Wars Celebration at Home. So obviously we just finished, or we're closing out our recap stream here on YouTube on the Saturday at 8 o'clock time frame here. So just in a little over an hour at 8 o'clock p.m., we'll be doing the Return of the Jedi watch along soon. I see you, RFB. You're going to be joining in. I love it. Thank you for joining, my friend. Hope to see you on Twitter with the hashtag ROTJ watch along. So if you have Return of the Jedi and you want to join along, whether it be on Disney Plus, Betamax, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, whatever is your method of watching Star Wars these days, or specifically Return of the Jedi, make sure you hit play at 8 o'clock p.m. Use the hashtag, tweet your thoughts, and let's geek out about the great film that is Return of the Jedi and celebrate its 40th anniversary. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock p.m., same time, same place on our YouTube channel, Force Ghost Conversations, for a recap stream of Sunday, whatever has taken place tomorrow. Great question, RFB. What panels are lined up for tomorrow? I know the morning panel, the big panel in the morning, is the villains. I believe there's going to be another trailer for Jedi Survivor, the video game, tomorrow. I know that's a fact. In terms of other panels, I know there's a Dark Horse panel. I don't know what exactly they're going to be showing. I'm definitely going to be checking out the Celebration site for that. Bad Batch is actually on Monday, Leo. So Bad Batch and Visions are on Monday. So sorry, RFB. The Parks panel is also at the end of the day. So they're going to be talking about Star Wars in the parks. Yeah, Bad Batch is Monday indeed. I'm glad you put these out as pod episodes. Yeah, I figured we'll keep these as YouTube exclusives at the moment. I'll be doing a recap pod next week at some point, just compiling all these news bits together, because I didn't want to. I wanted to sit with some of this stuff for a bit and to let it sink in, to enjoy what we've got going on here. I didn't want to kind of rush to get my thoughts out. I just wanted to sit back and enjoy Star Wars Celebration. We're already doing a lot here with the live streaming and the recap stuff and the watch-alongs, of course, which we love to do. It's been a lot of fun. I love geeking out with all of you about Star Wars and just having a place and a safe place to have positive discussions about this stuff, which I'm glad that we're all able to do here. And it's been just a blast over the last couple of days. So I definitely think we'll be doing some more streaming in the future as we get further into what we do here at Force Ghost Conversations. But yes, I'll have to double check what other panels are tomorrow just to get excited for all that. So stay tuned for more information on that front as we get to it. But I know the villains is the big one with Ian McDermott, Gwendolyn Christie, and Andy Serkis showcasing the morning. So, and I'll be up, of course, again at 5:15 tomorrow to get in a quick bike ride, some exercise before then. So getting ready for all of that certainly is a process in the morning. But, before we even got to the first Ahsoka panel of today, I already finished the season finale of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I watched the season finale of Andor while on the bike here. So I got some fun exercise in as before the day even started. So we're ready to rock and roll. Just keeping the ship afloat here as we're striving on Force Ghost Conversations here. So we're thriving. We're keeping going. Yeah. So hope to see you all back tomorrow, 6 o'clock p.m. Hope to see you on the Twitter feeds, chatting it all up, and I hope to see some of you guys tonight, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time for our watch along of Return of the Jedi. And of course, our new episode comes out tomorrow, so be sure to look for that in your podcast feeds. And it's a pretty good one. I hope you've been enjoying it. Plus, go check out all of our other podcasts that we've been doing recently. I know Mrs. Force Goes Conversations has been kicking it knocking out of the park, so to speak, with the Bad Batch discussions. So be sure to check out those, support those, share the show on all the sites and platforms. You know the drill. You guys are doing great. So that's all that I had for today's recap live stream. I hope that you all had fun. I hope to see you guys later tonight for Return of the Jedi watch along. But until then, may the Force be with you all. Take care. Enjoy your evening.